Mark Walker,
Here.
welcome to the Smoke Trail.
Appreciate it. Glad to be here. You know, we've been talking about this for quite a while, and so finally, it's happening.
Yeah, but I had to wait for you to get off the island of Jamaica, trek your butt all the way over here to Sedona. And we would have done this outside, but it's a little hot today.
It's just a little bit. Not quite island hot, but it's Sedona hot. So
Yeah, well, welcome. Super excited to have you here. And we were talking the other night. I think we figured out we met more than a dozen years ago.
right.
We did that Larry Broughton. I forget what it was called, but it was like this, find the champion in you.
Right, entrepreneurial
Boot
business
camp
leader boot camp, something along
with
that.
Travis McVeigh,
Right.
our buddy.
Yeah.
And you and I paired up, and we ended up becoming good friends and doing lots of adventures over the years.
Exactly. So I guess we're 12, 13 years later. Lots of changes in life, but all positive for the growth, and so definitely beneficial.
Yeah, for sure. Well, as you know, the intention of the Smoke Trail is to tell people about our journeys, tools we've picked up along the way, things that have worked for us, in the intention that some of them may be useful for other people. And take your pick. You can try out whatever we discuss and see if it works for you. But at the end of the day, everyone is on their own journey.
Well, as they would say in the islands, you eat the fish and you spit out the bones. So take the part that works for you, leave the other parts that won't work. So
we're definitely going to do another episode on the island, by the way. I'm coming to you next time.
No problem.
So that's actually kind of a cool story. You live in Jamaica.
Right.
You guys have renovated this beautiful home on a cliff overlooking the ocean. You're growing your own food. But that's not how it always was. So, maybe let's unpack that. What got you to Jamaica? And we'll come back to kind of what life is like now. But what led you there? I know this story a little bit, but let's talk about it.
Okay. Well, essentially, I was here. I was in LA.
Mm-hmm.
Doing business, running my restaurants, had a few food trucks, had a couple of locations, and just living life, working hard, all my employees, just building my team, just, in a process of expanding it, into Texas and across the country, meeting with some hedge funds, talking about funding to take this brand nationwide.
Because it was crushing it.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, we were in the process of getting ready to go into the new stadium and Staples Center. And so, we fed everybody in LA, the LeBrons, the Oprah, the Kevin Hart, just as well as throughout the downtown, Inglewood, we was going to Carson. So, what was building is an idea.
And all the athletes, like the NBA.
Right.
Oh, good. We can.
I thought that was.
Oh, good. All the athletes, NBA players, all the guys that you had a lot of following, and if they saw you out, what would they call you?
I was known as the Chicken Man.
Chicken Man, Chicken Man,
Chicken Man. That's what it was.
Chicken Man, but it was so good.
Right. We had like I said, organic soul food place. We had chicken, wings. We specialized in wings, but we had made our own sauce. We was definitely health conscious, organic along that line. So we had our own juices. Things along the line. So I think I was happy with it, happy with the culture we built, happy in terms of building my employees, building them up in terms of, from that standpoint.
Yeah.
So, we're in the process, we do pop-ups all across the country, but we're in the process of taking the brand nationwide. And then the creator said, let's pause that. I have something else in store for you. So,
yeah.
But long story short, I had this throat issue. Really, I'm pretty healthy.
Super healthy, fit.
Right. At the
big
time,
workout guy.
Yeah, at the time, I was about 225, 230 pounds. Pretty healthy. Worked out all my life. I compete natural bodybuilding. I was running, so health was fine from my perspective. But what I realized for about a year, I had this throat thing that just, it came and it went, but I couldn't quite figure out what the issue was. So I was like a sore throat. So it'd come and I'd go get some antibiotics for it. All right, then it would come back again. And so couldn't quite actually figure out what the problem was until, went through a series of doctors where doctors told me, oh, you're fine, you're okay, nothing's wrong with you. And I was like, no, I'm not. Something is wrong. So eventually I switched doctors and found this new doctor. So, okay, we're going to do all the tests. And eventually the doctor was like, even though my intuition, I'll never forget, I was shopping for the restaurant. There's a place called Smart and Final. I was walking through the aisle and I saw a cover of a magazine, and it was, I'm trying to think what the guy says, actor. And on it said he had throat cancer. And I said to him, I looked at it and I said, is that what I have? And I remember reading the article and they said it took them, I think, 2.5 years for them to find out what the problem was. It was just misdiagnosed, couldn't find out. And I was just like, could it be? But it was in the back of my mind by then because I've been trying everything, but still not feeling 100%. And so finally, my lymph nodes on my neck started getting pretty big, and went to the doctor and had the biopsy. And the doctor was like, he looked and he was like, yeah, it's cancer. And I always say that's the hardest part of the entire thing because it was just said in such a matter-of-fact way. My wife is sitting across from me. She broke out into tears, and I was just like, man, couldn't you, it wasn't the fact that what he said, it was just how he said it, and the fact that she was there, and I'm literally looking at her, and just the tears started coming down her face, and I was like, yeah. So after that, I was like, okay, not a problem, Then I had to go in on the Tuesday, the following Tuesday. This may have been a Tuesday to get another sample, get a biopsy where they get a sample, they can figure out exactly what kind it is. So that happened, and the doctor said to me, well, if you're gonna get cancer, this is the best kind to get. There's a 97% chance of recovering. So I was like, not a problem. I'm very structured and saying, all right, well, what do we have to do? We just have to cut it out. He's like, no, it doesn't work that way. You have to, it's this whole process. We have to, do all the blood work, make sure everything is fine, and then we have to, because it's in my throat, they have to use radiation and chemo, and I have to go through and, spend a lot of time with the dentist. I had to get this mouth guard fitted because of process, with the treatment. So I had to go through that. That took maybe about a month. And then I had to get a cage system because it strapped me down. So I was like, okay, fine. So I went into training mode. I was like, okay, I'm going to get as fit as I can be. So I was doing 2-a-days, eating, super, super strict and healthy. No sweets, which in hindsight, I should, for the moment, I should have had some sweets. But, we went through the whole process. And so I said, well, I need to do one thing before we actually start. So did all the treatments, did all the pre-blood work. I felt like I was at the hospital every day, getting blood work, doing this, checking on that. Great team of doctors. Other than the first doctor that just blurred, a great team. They went in, they knew everything to do, and I just kind of followed the process. And I said, okay, well, once we're finished with this, I need a gap of 1 week before we're finished, when we actually start the treatment. It's like rounds of radiation and chemo. I think I have 42 or 43 rounds of radiation every day, Monday to Friday, and then I had 4 rounds of chemo. So I was like, okay, I need to go to Jamaica in between that. So that's what I did. I was like, I went to Jamaica, and in Jamaica, there's a place in St. Thomas called Bath Fountain, where it's been known to be like healing water. It's way up in the mountains. So what I did, went in the water. I mean, you have like the spring almond water coming out the mountain, like super hot, and they'll, and when the Rastas, they put the clay all over your body that's coming from out of the mountains. And then, so I was like, okay, I have to do this. Went, had this treatment. And so now I'm going to go start my treatment, through the doctors. And so I went through the whole process. It took me, like I said, I had the 40-something rounds. I went from 200 and, like I said, 25, 30 pounds down to 150 pounds.
Yeah.
Throughout the 4 months. Just, I literally, it zapped me. But I can say, one of the things I didn't tell anybody, even you guys.
Yeah,
didn't,
no,
right?
we found out at the end.
Right, you found out at the very end, because I knew that I'd be okay. So I didn't tell anybody, didn't tell any friends, didn't tell any family members, because I knew I needed to just harness my energy and just being able to stay focused and healing myself. And I have a large family. I'm originally from Jamaica, so I have a large family. And so I knew
spread out Baltimore, Jamaica,
the UK, Switzerland,
UK.
And we're still pretty close. So I knew that if I had said something, every day I would get a call, and my mother would have been, and I didn't need that.
Yeah.
I needed to just harness the energy, focus.
I think it's a really interesting choice, and I have a lot of respect for it, because I appreciate it, because now thinking about it as you told me about this, with the intention to go into this with your full energy and your full force of, I'm gonna heal, I am going to make it through this, I'm gonna do whatever I have to do, not having the constant batter of interference of energies of, even if it well-intended,
right,
but reminding you you're sick, by just by asking, by
right, how you doing?
How you doing? It's like, you're like, dude, I'm just doing fine until I pick up this phone call from you. Thank you, right?
True.
And then the other thing that I thought was really interesting, and maybe you're going to get to this, but I'll just surface it, is you were prepared for this in a unique way. Not that anyone's ever prepared to get cancer, but you had just gone through it with a friend, right?
Right.
And you had helped him through it.
Right. So the interesting thing, a year before that, this is right during COVID, the beginning of COVID. My mother had reached out and said, "Oh, Mark, you need to, have you had your colonoscopy?" And I'm like, "Okay, all right. You just turned, have you had your colonoscopy?" I'm like, she was like, I think I turned, right before that, I was 48. And I think that's the time they recommend. I was like, all right, okay, fine. And then with COVID, all the delays. So I think I was a year into it. So I'm like, all right, fine, I'll call the doctor, just set up a time. So I went and had a colonoscopy done. And then I was like, okay, not a big deal. And then I told a friend of mine, a few of my friends, I'd reached out and said, "Hey, have you had your colonoscopy?" And it was like, no, it's a friend of mine recommended. I was like, "Hey, you should go get your colonoscopy." So literally dropped her off. She set up the appointment. I was a contact. So the doctor calls me and said, "Hey, I see something." And I was just like, and I said to the doctor, "Are you sure?" And that was because that was not what I was expecting.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Yes, I'm sure." And I was like, "Oh my." So but he said, "Don't say anything to her. Wait till tomorrow." And she's off I dropped her off, and I spoke to my wife and said, "Okay, well, we need to convince her to come over our place the following day so we could talk to her about it, and then I'll call the doctor." So, somehow I forgot what excuse he came over and said, "Hey, come over." So she came over, sat down. She's like, "What's wrong?" "Oh, nothing wrong." So then I was like, then I explained to her, which I think, about it, and arranged with her family and everything. And so, of course,
you did it in a better way than your doctor did. You, like you.
Right. So, a little bit more compassionate, because, you're figuring, people hear cancer. It's, it's a shocking thing. It's a jarring thing. It's just sort of, it's like, oh, my life is over. I'm done. That type of thing. So she came over, and we kind of set the stage on, told her, call the doctor, and the doctor spoke with her. And so throughout that time, then I went to the first visit with her, because you have to, once they tell you go to the visit, they tell you exactly what's going to happen, and this is the whole process. And so I took her multiple times a week throughout this whole process, throughout the year. As a matter of fact, she even moved in with us. She didn't have any family members in the area. So, she's a good friend. So we moved in, So we kind of literally watched over throughout the year.
Yeah.
So I think the unique situation is that I had a year to where I'm watching someone go through this process and helping and
how they're
doing
dealing with the medical community, the doctors,
Right.
how you're making sure they're getting what they need, and you were kind of her advocate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
that did prepare you in a unique way.
yeah, so everything she finished in, I remember that because she thought she was going to finish in end of December, but it spilled over into January. So I think her last treatment was done. She had a port taken out in like the first week in January, and I think 3 months later is when I got my diagnosis. So like you're saying, somehow the fact of being there throughout the year prior allowed me to not be as alarmed, because I watched her go through the treatment. Yes, she lost out, but she got back healthy and she was doing fine. And then so when it happened, I was prepared for it. I never felt like anything. I knew that I'd make it. It wasn't an issue. I never doubted that part of it. Maybe that's the reason why, part of it and just maintaining my energy, not talking to family, not telling friends, was just like, okay, it's a process. I just have to go through it to get there, which...
Well, I think you did know it, but whether you know it or not, as we talked about, we are all physical, mental, and spiritual beings. And the truth is that the health system is treating the physical, right, and that's the least powerful of the three, right? It's kind of it's the output. It's what we see here is the result of everything else.
Right.
So what we hold in mind is much more powerful than what's in the physical. And then of course, spiritual is even higher, but you had a positive mental attitude from the start to the end. I mean, you were just like, this is okay. I have this. I'm gonna go. This is what I got to do.
Right.
How do I, what do I have to do for it?
Right. And I remember something, because you mentioned Larry. So we met at Larry's event, but prior to that, how I met Larry was through Craig Duswall, his event. And I remember, and it's funny how you hear things and how little things will stick in the back of your mind. So I met through Craig Duswall event. He had I think it's called Rock Star Events. But one of his events, he talked about being younger with him and his wife when they got married, like early on, his wife, Natasha, how she was diagnosed with cancer. But what she used, she never said she had cancer. She said she was diagnosed with cancer. So even when there's, oh no, I don't. So somehow that stuck with me. So I used the same language in saying that I was diagnosed. I was diagnosed, went through the process, and that had a big. So I remember the language from, which at the time when I first heard it was probably like another 8 or 9 years prior to that. But at that time, it had no significance, but for whatever reason, I remember that.
And that's amazing because, language matters. Mm-hmm. How we name things, what we call things, instead of calling, so we have these energies that are coming up all the time, and we name them things, emotions, thoughts, and sometimes an energy will come up, we'll say, oh, I'm anxious, or I'm afraid, or I'm angry, or something. But if we don't name them, we have power over them. Right. And same thing with diagnosis. If you have been diagnosed with something, whatever it is, I mean, a stomach ache, or something minor, or something major like cancer, you diagnose with it, but you don't have to acknowledge it. It's not something that is you. And so, and I have great compassion for people who suffer from illness and fight illness and do all the things. But one of the big mistakes that people make time and time again is they let the disease define them. Right. And if you get to the point where you're defined by the disease and in your mind, in your own mind,
that's true,
you've manifested it to be more than it needed to be, and it's a lot harder to kick. And I even like the idea of you're not really fighting cancer. You're addressing it. So cancer's coming over here to knock on the door. Hey, Mark, you're not paying attention to something. Right. And you have to address it. and then figure out what that something is. And I think that leads us to where we're headed, which is Jamaica and paradise, and why you're living there and not in the fast bustling, LA and running your restaurant empire and all your other stuff.
Well, I think, after going through, that was one of the things while I'm there, I'm going through the treatments, it wiped me out. I couldn't eat, so my body literally just deteriorated over that time. So, because if you know anything about sort of radiation and chemo, it compounds on top of itself. So of course the first week or the first few weeks, and maybe the first month, okay, you're a little bit, but after that, it just kept compounding and compounding.
And it doesn't differentiate very well between good cells and bad cells, right? So it's hitting hard on all fronts, right?
So right, definitely. Yeah. So for me, totally wiped me out throughout the whole time. And I was, just laid up, running back and forth, going to the doc. So as a result, while I was sitting in this space, only thing I would think about is like, okay, well, by getting past this, I can't wait to go back to Jamaica. I can't wait to get the fruits. I can't wait to eat. I can't wait to get in the water. I can't wait to sit in the sunshine and just get healed by the land. And that was sort of the thing that I was looking forward to. And I think it's important to have something just to look forward to as you're going through, because essentially you're going through the process and having these things. So for me, once it was completed and, my doctor said, okay, everything is fine. You responded, great to the treatment from the very first week, because every week they would look at the chart and they would be able to see and diagnose and see, okay, is it shrinking and things. Oh my gosh, it's like you're, from the very, very, very first week.
Yeah.
But that was my thing. Is saying, okay, well, what's the reason? And it's kind of like there's a purpose that this occurred. And my thing is, okay, what's the reason? What am I supposed to learn from this? Mm-hmm. And so as much as I enjoyed the industry, as much as I enjoyed feeding people, as much as I enjoyed creating a space for people to come and give them joy, for them to be happy with the food and all those things, I knew that the 10 years of sleeping on average 3 hours a night, sometimes I'm up for 36 hours and running and doing, you're doing everything and just being concerned about all my contractors, my employees, making sure everyone is happy, that I needed time to just heal myself, to get back within. And I knew that I couldn't do that in the US. I knew that the environment didn't present itself. And I knew even from the very beginning why, even when I went to a bath fountain, that they're just, the botanicals in Jamaica offer, like you have the soursop and, these are, trees and fruits and leaves that's, it's been around that people have been using since ancient time for healing properties. So I knew that I needed to be in the environment where I could go pick these things off the tree, eat them, eat these fruits, to be able to heal from it, to just be able to sit in nature. And so once I was cleared, everything was on hold, because we'd moved to Houston, but we're back and forth. I did a lot of my treatment in LA because that's where I was diagnosed. But I had to give myself the grace to move to Jamaica, just move out and just immerse myself in the environment. I would come back every few months because, your first year, I think it was every 2 months, the doctors, you have to go back and they're checking everything. And then once I got past a year, then I think I went to every 4 months. And now I'm 3 years out, it's every 6 months now. So I would come back for my doctor visits, but at the same time, it was about being in the environment. And I think after I was a year and a half, I ran a half marathon in the grill. And so the doctor's like, well, what are you doing? And I'm like, how, you healthy? And I'm saying, well, I'm just sitting in the sun, but at the same time, I'm eating off the land, because essentially when you plant something and the intention is there, you're just able to consume that to nourish and heal and strengthen your body. So
it's so important, and it's real.
Oh yeah,
it's the real deal, and I think you living it, exhibit it, right? But you guys are doing it now, which is super cool.
Right. So I'm thankful for it, and oftentimes, I look at my wife and I said, well, it really was a blessing, because you have to go through. Sometimes you have to go through some things to get to some place where it was always a plan to be in an island, but I was working myself to death.
Yeah,
Essentially,
literally.
it's not, it's not sustainable. You can't, but you're in it. So when you're in it, you're on this treadmill. You're just going, we've got to go here. We've got to get this. We have another event. We have to do a thing. We have to open a new location. We have to have this event. We have this movie. We have to catering for them. So you're just always running and making sure that everyone is taken care of it, but you're not healing yourself. You're not, and that's one of the things I was guilty of during that time. I was just make sure everyone's fine, but I never took moment to heal myself, to just because.
Which you've, I think, historically been pretty good at taking care of yourself, but that was just all in, and you lose track. And
Right.
like you're in it to win it, and you've got a lot of people counting on you.
Right.
Yeah, a lot riding on it, and it was doing well. So
Right.
like the more success, it's created
Right.
more things to do. You open up more branches. You open up the commissary. You open up.
Right.
You're doing delivery stuff. You're like
Right.
nonstop.
Right.
So you look at it as a blessing that forced you to take a step back.
Right. It how I looked at it is, I'm running. It's as if I was on a treadmill and someone tripped me and pushed me at the same time.
Yeah.
That's how it was, where it just forced me just to stop. Because otherwise it wasn't going to happen. I mean, my wife would say, I am daughter back, dad, you eat something. And yes, you think that you're being healthy. I'm doing the best that I can. But at the end of the day, it's not sustainable. 3 hours of sleep, 2 hours, it's not sustainable. It's at some point in time, this, you fall out. So for me, it was like I said, it really is it saved my life.
Now, will you ever go back to that kind of life?
No, definitely not.
So what's your routine now? Like, give us a little glimpse of like, what is a day in the life of Mark and Katina in Jamaica?
Well, we have sort of what we've done in Jamaica after renovating our villa. We have like a full service. We have a full service villa that we're providing for Jamaica. So essentially, people call us, say that we want to come to Jamaica, and we prepare for them to come to have an authentic experience. We have the chef, we have the butler. They get to see certain things if they want to be able to eat the healthy food, be able to go to the farm, to be able to see some sights, to be able to really slow down. So essentially, we've created this environment, essentially a healing environment for other people to come, even if it's just for a week or 2 weeks, just to step back, because we don't realize that most of the time when you're in it, you're just going so hard. Mm-hmm. So we provided this space for people just to come down and
awesome.
And heal.
Can't wait to go. I know I've been invited a long time, but
right.
but like it's on my list. So.
Right, just to come and experience it for themselves, just to heal, to take a step back, drinking the teas and being able to pick the soursop off the tree, to be able to have the guava off the tree, those kind of things where it's truly organic. There's stuff that we've grown, and then so we have that, and we don't have guests. I'm on the farm. We're deciding like, okay, what we're planting and harvesting different things and drying some of our leaves. So that's really what it's about now, just really understanding like what are the botanicals and what are the purposes and the properties, and really taking care of ourselves from that standpoint. So
beautiful.
Watching literally sitting there watching the bees pollinate and just learning about like, hey, a pineapple takes anywhere from 18 to 24 months to actually grow. So things that the relationship with food, I think, is what we can understand things from an intellectual perspective, but to be there, to put your hands in the dirt, to understand and see and watch and say, okay, well, on a full moon, you actually see the leaves pointed upward towards the moon.
Yeah.
At nighttime, if you come out at night, you'll see the leaves, and you're like, the first time I noticed it, I was just like, wow, the actual leaves are pointed up, where during the daytime, the leaves may be down, but during the full moon, it's pointed up towards, so it's like and so you're seeing things. You may even be seated, and we're here, like bees flying around. You think they're where I've actually been seated outside on the ground, and the bees are just flying around. They're pollinating. They're going to the coconut tree. They're going to this tree. And you're there, and they're not even bothering you because they're doing their job. So being in the environment to observe nature, and then at the same time to actually, nourish the plant, and the flower, watch it bear fruit, and to actually consume the fruit and realize the taste of the fruit completely different than actually going to the store.
We've gotten so far away from that in modern society, and I guess community gardens are a step in that direction.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Which is kind of cool. I'm excited, at our place to have a little greenhouse that we're working on. I think we largely certainly in this part of the world, in the U.S., have separated ourselves dramatically from the actual food production, the actual natural environment where it comes from. I know one of my daughters they've gotten really big into the Amish, and so they've got the Amish, they're producing, all these great, butter and milk and meats and things, and they're doing it in a kind of a traditional way, hand done, and that's been really cool.
Right. Well, you realize one of the things that we've realized is just through my wife, it takes a little bit of time and understanding some of the processes, but the process for a lot of it is not that difficult. It's just that you have to prioritize. You say, okay, I'm going to take time out to do this. And even just with as they call it, regenerative farming, but it's what, they've been doing for hundreds of years, where
it's how we farmed until we stopped doing it that way, right? until it became non-regenerative.
Right, where like the peeling. So for us, everything compost, everything is completely recycled back into it. So the skins get thrown back into, and from that, it helps to sort of nourish the plant, to nourish your fruits or vegetables. So essentially, I look at it and I said, it's healed me. I can't speak for, I know personally, that's my healing, because essentially you're there, you're doing it. So, I mean, it really, 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 means it makes a difference when you're able to get a proper rest, proper nutrition, because rest was out of the equation. I'm thinking I'm doing the right thing by, maybe getting on the treadmill, working out, and I'm eating what I think is organic. But it's nothing like actually growing your own, putting the seed and planting it, having your own little nursery, and then watering and, creating your own.
Well, it makes me think, I don't know if you're familiar with Dr. Moto, which is the Japanese doctor who he's passed now, but he did a bunch of water studies where they basically, there's a documentary on Netflix or someplace. It's like really, really worth watching, because they basically measured that you could put intention into the water. And so like you could literally put love or thankfulness or something beautiful into the water, or you could put hate or some angry word or thing into the water, and then they would put these intentions into it, and they would freeze the water, and as the water froze, just in between freezing and liquid, it crystallizes.
Right.
And the crystals they could take out and study, and the crystals that came from love and thankfulness and beautiful words were beautiful, like symmetrical, like just these beautiful little shapes. And the crystals from the hate or angry words or bad intentions were all mangly and like what you would expect.
Right.
So that's the water responding to our intentions and showing you what it gives you. What are we? We're 70, 80, 90% water. I don't know how much, but we're mostly water. What are vegetables? What are all the food we eat? I mean, all of these things are responding to the intentions around them. So when you're growing your own food, when you're giving it love and care, you're taking care of the plant, and you're doing these things, it responds, it knows it.
Right.
And when our food is handled in a commercial way with large industrial equipment, with fertilizers, with thrown into piles, thrown into warehouses, processed, thrown into trucks, thrown into grocery stores, and then it ends up in a bag at our house. What did it take on? What properties did it take on along the way? You know, it's a real question, and you know, it's not a question to me, but it's a real problem in this highly industrialized ecosystem we live in. It doesn't mean it couldn't be fixed. It would be actually pretty simple to add positive things along the way. You know, I've done it in one of my little clips. I did one point. I talked about it, but you know, if you do muscle testing, or there's Bodhi, she might have to come join us, but you do muscle testing for, you know, things like, you know, pesticides or fake sugar, you know, aspartame or whatever. You know, these things are all test negative. Like they test, you go weak on it. And organic sugar or you know, or organic vitamin C or, you know, fruits, you know, all test positive. Well, fluorescent lights, everyone tests negative for that. You could do it. You get 100 people in a room, and everyone's going to test negative for fluorescent lights. And yet we fill our grocery stores, actually everywhere, but you know, grocery stores are full of fluorescent lights. And you're sitting there, it's a negative energy
going to the food,
on the food and on the people that are shopping for the food. I mean, when is somebody going to have a grocery store that has natural light or some kind of light that tests positive, that is actually good for the food and good for the people? Whoever does that is going to win, like in the marketplace. Like, this is actually a real thing. I mean, it's kind of interesting, but you know.
True. Well, I just think that because we're so far removed from the food, or you know, or whatever it is you eat, so so far removed where people don't understand. Just like what you're saying, is that being there, you realize that you watch, like, you know, because I got mango trees. You watch it ripen on the vine. You take it off. If you sit it in the house on the counter, 4 days, 5 if you're lucky, before it starts to go bad. And that's most fruits. Or vegetables, same thing. Go to the store, buy something, sit it and see. I mean, there are things sometimes that'll last up to 2-3 weeks.
Because they're putting stuff on it.
They're putting stuff on it. So then you ask yourself to say, okay, well, if this peach or wherever it is coming from somewhere in Latin America, or when is that picked? They're picking it, they're putting some chemical on to prevent it from ripening. Then it gets to a warehouse, and they may have to put another chemical on it for it to start to ripen in a certain time. And then it's being in a box, it's being transported. And what is that doing to your body?
And look, these things may have been innovations that were well intended. Like somebody was like, well, how do we get fresh fruit to people in the north in the winter, or, you know, and let's get it from South America. Well, how is it going to survive? And they came up with something. But all these little micro decisions add up to like a really bad ecosystem. I actually saw that they approved there's some kind of substance they can put on organic food and still allow it. But it preserves the life of it. And that doesn't sound right to me.
Exactly.
Like something doesn't seem right.
Because what is that doing to your body?
What is it doing to your body?
Exactly.
So, you know, what can people do? Like, let's just say that most of the people, look, a lot of people watching this might not be in a position to move to a beautiful island in paradise and build a villa and grow their own food today. What could people do in their normal life to move in that direction? Like, what could they do that would be useful?
Well, I think it's about the intentionality. I think that's where it starts, and just really focus on your life and say, okay, are you living the life that you want to live in the way that you want to do it? Because what happens is that oftentimes we're conditioned without even knowing. I used to always tell my daughter and say, okay, are your thoughts your own thoughts? Because we have so many things that's bombarding us. So a lot of us think that, okay, I'm this age, I'm supposed to be here, I'm supposed to do this, I'm supposed to have that, I'm supposed to do all these things. And so what happens, your decisions are now forced because you're not even conscious about it. You see a new thing on TV, a new thing now pop up on the phone. I need to buy that, which means I need to work additional hours. I need to do all these things. And so, however, just like myself, and I was guilty of it and saying, well, you know, I have to get this, I have to do this. So, you know, I'm going hard. Like, sleep, I always say, I'll sleep later. I'll sleep when I'm dead. That was always, I'm just gonna, and then you realize it. So I would say that if you're intentional about the things that you want, the quality of life, in many places now I'm seeing where people planter boxes, even, indoor little, if you have like a little balcony space, now you can plant stuff in your, from that, if you're in a state where if it's, some states, it's warmer, you have a little backyard, you set a little garden in the backyard and understand that, okay, well, at a certain time of year, the stuff is going to freeze over, but maybe that's the time where, you plant, you mulch your garden
and even, in a lot of places there are farmers markets.
Exactly.
You can go find those. They're, usually on a weekend or something.
Right.
But we used to do it in Ventura. It's California. They've got a lot of great, access to produce if you want it. We do it here in Sedona. We go to the farmers market and pick up stuff from local farmers, and and then when we're not doing that, we're going to natural grocers or Whole Foods. But those are not that affordable necessarily to everybody. But I think you can pick and choose. Even Walmart's got an organic program,
right.
Which it's going to be a little more, but it's going to be potentially a lot healthier.
Right. But even growing, I mean, like you said, you'd be amazed, like, especially now, I'm always online looking on YouTube. Like, I see so many people like growing things in their home, like potatoes, like in a bag. Like, it's just, you could grow potatoes on your balcony. So I think there are ways that you can start to do some of these.
At least you can't. Maybe you can't grow everything, but you can grow some stuff and supplement it and add to it.
Right.
Yeah. But even putting good intentions to it, you can put your grocery bags on the table when you get home, take them out of the plastic, and literally, give it good intentions. And
Definitely.
If that works with water, it's going to work to some degree with everything you bought at the grocery.
Exactly.
So I mean, that might sound a little crazy, but it's real.
No, it's real.
Yeah.
Well, like you're saying, it's about having intention with every aspect of your life.
Yeah.
But trying to take a step back and just for a moment, so those are the things that I used to incorporate, but not now, definitely more, because I've given myself the time and I understand that if I'm so busy trying to accomplish so many things, I'm no good if I'm not around for my family.
Yeah.
So it defeats the purpose. I'm trying to accomplish something.
Well, and you divide your energy, right? So what because I'm been a serial entrepreneur and I've been in those shoes with you,
exactly,
doing the same thing around the clock, building companies, doing stuff, having a lot of demands, and never saying no, yeah, I can do it.
Say yes and figure it out.
And what happens is our energy is divided, and you can do it, and you can sometimes, some people have the ability to do it for a long period of time, but nothing you're doing is getting your full energy and your full focus, and you're dividing it across a bunch of things, and it's never going to be the best outcome. It's much better, less is more.
Exactly.
And saying no and creating space for yourself. One of the things we were talking about last night, and I thought would be kind of tied to your comment about your daughter and thoughts, and those thoughts aren't even yours, and all this stuff, we're inundated. We were talking about this, right? We're inundated from whether it's television, social media, our friends, our community. Everybody's inundating you with their thoughts and their opinions, and they're all coming at you in different ways. And a couple things. One, we are not sovereign. We're not operating in our free will if we don't create a gap between stimulus and response. So, but that is, right, it's, someone comes at you, a customer comes at you, they're angry, employee, investor, you're someone in your family, and you just respond out of reaction, you are not in your free will.
Not at all.
And if we can create a gap between stimulus and response, and then choose from what are the best options I have.
Right.
It doesn't mean you don't ever respond. There might be some anger that is appropriate.
Right.
Like, this person needs to see a little anger. But if you chose to do that because you've thought about all the options, and this person needs to see that to create some space, that's different than just hauling off and being angry. And it's so important, and it's something that until we do it, we are really mechanical. We are animalistic. We're just responding to whatever's around us.
No, that's definitely true. But I think, like what you're saying, in terms of, because it's so much, people are so busy, overworked, they're taxed. It's like time. So it's I think most people are not giving themselves enough time just to have 10 minutes, 15 minutes, just like you're saying, to allow you to just say, okay, well, let me pause. Let me think about this. Let me respond.
Yeah, you can create space, right? Like whether it's, even if it's a situation, you can say, I need a minute, and you can step away. You can go to the restroom.
Right.
You can step outside and walk around the building and come back. You can just pause for a moment, look away, take 3 deep breaths, just to create a little separation.
Right.
And then you can decide how you want to respond. In most cases, you don't actually have to respond. You have to respond in a way that's, you don't have to give an answer. You can say, I see why you're upset. Let me think about how we can best help you with that. Or let me think about how I can help you in some way. You can acknowledge the situation without having to give an answer.
Right.
And it doesn't mean you don't ever give an answer, but you're not required to give an answer to anybody. Everybody is their own sovereign being.
Right.
And we forget that, and society likes us to forget it, and all the noise helps us forget it. But this is what we're here for. Wake up, clean up, and it's a great life, but you have to take your sovereignty back.
Right. Yeah. You definitely have to.
Well, it's the same with health, right? If you used Western medicine, you used the latest doctors and best practices and everything else, but you were the CEO of your journey to get healthy again. Right. Like you took ownership of that.
Right. Definitely.
I think it's so easy to abdicate and give our power away, to experts, to a doctor, to whatever. And that's not the way to do it. The way to do it is take ownership of your own journey, your own health, your own whatever situation. Yeah, tap into expertise. Yeah, find out what they think, and then you decide.
Right.
You decide what matters and how to best go about it. Because you've got higher self looking after you. You can tap into that, but you can't tap into it if you're constantly giving up your power. Right.
No. Well, and that went back to my reasoning for not telling anyone until literally the day after my last treatment.
Yeah.
I was having my last treatment, and the doctor said, "Mark, you're good."
Yeah.
I called my mother and father. I called my father and I said, his mom's around. I said, "No, she's upstairs." I said, "I have something important to tell you guys." I said, I prefaced that I'm okay. Just know that I'm fine. And I told him first. I said, this is what happened. This is the reason why, I've been kind of elusive over the last couple of months on the phone, but I'm okay now. And he said, well, I said, what's the best time to call? He said, call her at 7 because she'll be in her favorite chair, sitting back, kind of relaxed. He said, I'll kind of soften the blow. I won't tell her, but I'll make sure she's in a good position. And they're on a plane the following day. But it goes back to, because it's about maintaining your own power, staying within, understanding that if you have to heal yourself, yes, you're going through the process. You need as much energy focused and directed in one area. You don't need to have it divided, because naturally, we're concerned. So I couldn't console my family members, my parents, my cousin, my aunties, wife, everyone, while trying to heal myself. Because essentially it would be a phone call, numerous calls every day. How is treatment today? How do you feel today? While I just needed to just be within, sit still, go within and focus on that area and see it getting better. See it and just feel within my entire body.
And that's, to me, that's so powerful as an example. And, we were joking about the other day about, when a doctor or surgeon goes in and cuts something out or stitches, fixes something, stitches you up, they don't say, okay, they're healed. They say, all right, our work is done. Now the body's got to do the work.
Exactly.
What is that? It's because all healing happens from within.
Right.
There's no doctor that heals anyone. They may get something, obstruction out of the way. They may repair something that's damaged, but they don't actually heal you. Your healing is coming from a higher source. So it's really, really important. So I think you are a wonderful example of that. And just the way you approached your sickness, how you got through it, how you operated, I think can help other people.
Right. Well, I think that once again, the blessing from that, even before, during, and then even after, I've had a neighbor and a few other friends just sort of say, hey, Mark, going through the same thing. And the blessing is that I've been able to sort of help, whether it's, get them leaves, be able to give some advice. Like a friend of mine, Tom, same thing happened to him. And he's like, I'm not going to eat this. And I said, okay, Tom, understand. Eat everything you want to eat. Definitely eat sweets, because part of the, one of the things I didn't go online and read anything, because once again, same thing. If you go online, your energy is getting pulled everywhere. So I just was kind of, okay, this is a treatment. I have to do this. And I just followed it. But at the same time, poured the energy back into myself to healing. But with it, I lost my taste. But they said the sweets, you would lose it for maybe 8-9 months. It took me 2 years to taste anything remotely sweet. So
well, I don't know about before, but I saw you eating some McConnell's ice cream that we had shipped in.
And it's back, and I'm enjoying it.
You seem to enjoy that.
Exactly.
So you got it back.
I got it back, and I'm enjoying every bit of it. So that's the thing too, I'm enjoying every bit of every food. Just whereas before, now I'm taking my time.
Yeah.
Just because we don't realize that. I remember when I was able to drink a glass of water, that was a joy, because there's a moment I only could get a sip, because with the radiation, I was just able to just sip water. So the day I was able to drink a glass of water, you would have thought, I was the happiest man. I was just so happy just to be. So sometimes it takes for you to lose certain things for you to appreciate it. And that's the reason why, like I said, I'm thankful that during the process, I was able to enjoy the moment and just understand what was happening, and knowing that I had to go through this process. But at the same time, I'm not sure where in the Bible, there's like a saying that talks about you can't pour new wine into old skin. And so I knew that I had to become someone else for this next journey. So that was a big thing. And like I said, while going through it, it was never, woe is me, why am I? It was like, I'd be laying there on my side and just in a fetal position. I was like, what am I supposed to learn from this? What is the message? And that was a big part of even just me focusing on healing.
Well,
myself.
a lot of our sickness is a wake-up call. It is what am I supposed to learn from this? What am I missing? What am I not paying attention to?
Right.
And when we're ignoring parts of our being, parts of ourself, at some point it manifests into some kind of dis-ease.
Right.
And unless we put our focus on it and try to understand it, don't be the victim. Don't be the, whoa, why did I get this? Woe is me. It's what am I supposed to learn from this? What did I miss? What am I doing? What am I supposed to change? And which seems like how you approached it. High vibes. We were talking about high vibes, and you mentioned something I thought might be interesting, but you grew up around that. You grew up around like the words, hey, I don't like their vibe, and let's do this, and the Rasta guys, right?
Yeah.
So like those guys are tapped into something they're not just like a
Right.
a caricature.
Right.
They're tapped into something, right?
No, definitely. Well, essentially, I've always talked about the vibration, and so essentially, understanding that there's a certain vibration that that you need to be at. So it's
Yeah.
about like maintaining the vibes. Your vibration need to be high enough so you can, maintain, so you can just withstand, so you can be able to receive the proper frequencies. And if anyone that listens to any of Bob Marley music, you would hear it me constantly. He's there talking about it's a natural mystic blowing through the air.
Yeah.
Proper vibration. What's the vibe? So those are the things that we may know it, but we're running around so busy, and it's about, like, for me, this forced me to slow down, stop.
Yeah.
Not slow down, stop.
Yeah.
Full stop. But at the same time, look around and say, okay, well, how can I be a better person? But in a sense, how can I help others even more on this new journey, and going forward, and just being aligned with my vibes and vibing with people on the same vibrational level. Like the both of us, I look at it and say that we've been, we met in a different space, but we connected from the very moment.
Yeah.
And at the same time, here it is, we've gone through some things over the same time period.
Yeah.
And we realize that there's a lot of things from a vibrational perspective, just a way of life, the way of thinking about things, that we're in tune within it. So it's
For sure.
Right.
Well, I think we figured out we're on a common mission. We won't
Exactly,
go there today,
right.
but for sure. And it's really important to keep your vibration high. And we talked about it last night, but methods for keeping it clean. And even when you have cleaned up and you're in a very high vibrating state as a steady state,
right,
we're still inundated with all these negative thought forms and energies that are coming out our way from all kinds of sources.
Right. And it's worse.
And we have to negate them. You have to negate them. Like, you have to actually say, this is not, I negate any and all false beliefs, regardless of where they're from,
right,
from anything I've heard, because this stuff accumulates, and if you don't get rid of it, your subconscious picks it up, and then it starts to believe it, and
right,
it's really an important thing. You also can't, I don't want to say can't, because I don't want to go overboard here, but make some kind of crazy health claim. But the fact is, viruses and a lot of bacteria, a lot of things can't survive in a very high vibration environment.
Right.
So as we raise our vibration, it'd be overstatement to say you're immune from anything, but I would say you're practically immune from most things.
Right.
You just don't get it. It just doesn't operate in a high vibration environment. So there's that, right? Practical things, it's not just about the journey. There's some really good things that come out of it.
Oh no, definitely. That's what I look at it, and I said it was a blessing. Essentially, I don't look at it as, I'm not in life. Things happen, and my father always said to me, he said, Mark, everything in life happens for a wise purpose. And the moment you may not realize it, but at some point in life, you will realize why that happened. So that's just always been my life. I've always approached and looked at life from that perspective. And even that, helped me from the moment your doctor said yes, and this is what it is, your diagnosis, and looking at it, because it's not the thing, it's okay. And that's why it was always like, what am I supposed to learn? And I'm,
it's such a great question in every situation, whether it's a health issue, it's something doesn't go the way you want it to go. It's like, whatever it is, a deal doesn't happen the way you wanted, or, you lose something that's important to you, you have a fender bender, whatever it is.
Right.
There's something that we're supposed to learn about. There's something that's supposed to happen, and keep asking that question. Yeah.
Yep. That's it. What am I supposed to learn from this? So, you learn, you grow, you increase your vibration, to be able to have a more fulfilled life, to be happy. And so, like I said, I have family members that's like, Mark, what? I can't believe you're back there. You're in the farm, got your hands in the dirt. You're doing this. They see me. I'm having my machete. I'm chopping a coconut. I'm drinking a coconut water. I'm, getting the bananas off the thing.
You're
I'm
making me
like,
hungry.
what, my God? And I'm like, and I said, yes. If not for experiencing everything in the past, I wouldn't be able to appreciate this now. So it's all a part of the journey.
Totally.
It's life, it's a journey. And going back to what you're saying in terms of like the power in words and understanding. So it's, there's certain words I don't use. I don't use the word try because I'm either doing something, I'm not doing it.
Yep.
And if I say something that's not in my alignment, I catch myself, or someone says something, my word is always say, that's not my reality. Or so all you do is I'm like, no, that's not my reality.
Yeah.
Because, we're being forced. We're to sort of fit in a box. To say you're this, you're supposed to. You're a man, you're supposed to. You're a woman, you're supposed to this. You're tall, you're supposed. And so society and everyone kind of put us in these various boxes. And if once you're intentional, you say, okay, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to focus here. Then
words matter, thoughts matter, intentions matter. And I mean, look, we don't have to get religious in any way, shape, or form. But the word, like, it started out with consciousness, God saying a word, and then there was light.
Right.
So like, don't think that like that's just like some rhetorical thing. Like words matter.
Right.
And our words, whether they're spoken out loud, they're more powerful. But even if they're said inside or said to ourselves, it's why negative self-talk is absolutely can't be part of your program.
Right.
It is working against you in every which way. So negative self-talk, thinking ill thoughts about other people, all the things that like it's easy to fall into, and you may get into a habit, you may have a habit of it. You've got to clean that up because it all works against you. Anything you put out comes back to you.
Exactly. So it can't come back void.
No,
that's why the Rasta said, keep the positive vibration.
Well, Mark, I think that's a beautiful way to close the conversation. And thank you for sharing, being a great friend, and I look forward to more conversations and come and visit you and doing it with some mangoes and coconuts.
Exactly. Yeah, we expand the vibes in Jamaica. Definitely on the rock, as they say. As in Jamaica, we always say yard. So when you come a yard, have you get some definite positive vibration.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. Appreciate you.